Forget everything you thought you knew about 1980s military black ops. The screams from Project Chimera weren't pigs, not cattle. They were human. Deep beneath a decommissioned slaughterhouse in rural Nevada, a classified government project delved into horrors that would make a demon blush, seeking a weapon unlike any ever conceived. This wasn't about bombs, it was about opening a gate. The men in charge, a clandestine mix of biochemists and occult enthusiasts, believed that enough concentrated, agonizing human suffering, precisely calibrated, could tear a hole in reality. They weren't just killing, they were shattering souls, turning conscious minds into raw, screaming conduits. Their subjects, volunteers from classified psychiatric wards and forgotten prisons, endured systematic sensory deprivation, induced psychosis, and methodical surgical mutilation, limbs slowly removed, nerve endings exposed, pain receptors overloaded, all to prepare them for the ultimate sacrifice. They aimed to weaponize pure, unadulterated terror. On a freezing November night in '87, the ritual culminated. A final subject, a man named 7B, his body a map of tortured scars, was strapped to a cold steel table, his eyes wide and vacant. With surgical precision, the lead physician began the final exsanguination. But instead of embalming fluid, a pulsating, viscous, bioluminescent liquid, harvested from something indescribable they'd unearthed in the desert, was slowly pumped into his veins. A low, guttural hum began to resonate through the facility, vibrating through bone, through teeth, as the air itself seemed to thicken and distort around 7B. Then, the gate opened. Not a visual tear, but an invisible rupture in the fabric of sanity. 7B began to convulse violently, his body twisting impossibly, blood-black tears streaming from his eyes. The hum escalated into a cacophony of whispers that burrowed directly into the minds of the observing personnel, bypassing ears, driving them to a frenzied madness. One scientist tore at his own scalp, screaming about the pattern invading his thoughts, while another began to carve arcane symbols into his chest with a scalpel, convinced he was tuning the signal. The air became acrid with the stench of copper and ozone, skin blistering where the psychic pressure intensified. But the portal wasn't a doorway to another dimension. It was a transmitter. The agonizing screams, the shattered minds, the very essence of human despair, all amplified, focused, and broadcast. The bioluminescent fluid was merely the carrier. The disease that ravaged the nearby town weeks later, an epidemic of catatonia, self-mutilation, and violent, nonsensical psychosis, wasn't an accident. It wasn't a failed experiment. It was the intended outcome. Project Chimera's ultimate biological weapon, an irreversible, psychic contagion. The portal worked. And you're still listening. Archivist out.